Here we are, guys, in part 8 of this story. The Ondaime Hokage unknowingly makes a change during the sealing, the consequences of which are unimaginable for both Naruto and Konoha. What do these consequences mean for Naruto? Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Now, let's begin. The Ondaime Raikage stared at his newly reconstructed village with an awe he did not show on his face. He truly had not expected for the old village to be duplicated so perfectly after its destruction. His village had been ravaged by fire and forest, by overwhelming force. But now it was as if nothing had happened to Kumagakure, as if the attack by the Akatsuki was but a bad memory. He turned to Uzumaki Naruto, who looked at him inquiringly. "My construction is to your satisfaction, I believe, Raikage?" he asked politely, as if he did things like this on a daily basis. The Raikage was startled out of his wonderings, and replied hastily. Yes, it is excellent. It appears Kumagakure owes you a great debt, Uzumaki Naruto. For stopping the Akatsuki onslaught and for reconstructing our home, we owe you much, admitted the Raikage, who truly did not like being in the debt of a clearly more powerful village such as Konoha. Naruto sensed the man's feelings, and graciously let him off the hook. No debts, Raikage. All I request of you is that you accede to Konoha's request to form a response force. The need for which you have already seen to be necessary. And I do not need to explain politics to a sly old fox like you, now do I? The Raikage gave a barking kind of laugh and Naruto grinned as the Raikage slapped him on the back in a comradely fashion. Certainly not, young man. At this Naruto felt Kurama's amusement. And I have important news. Takigakure has allied with Akatsuki completely, and that makes alliance with Konoha all the more important. Tell Tsunade that we will have to meet soon with Mizukage to form a triumvirate alliance. Naruto inclined his head in acquiescence. As they walked on, they came across Sasuke, who was sparring with Yugito. Naruto sighed as Sasuke redoubled his efforts, trying to win a kenjutsu match against an experienced jounin. Just tell the brat who you are, Hashirama. At least it will stop the runt from trying to think he can match you in even another 100 years, said Kurama in a bored voice. Naruto had considered the idea. But he could not let that secret go around too much, the fewer the people who knew the better. He winced as Yugito skillfully disarmed Sasuke. The blast of anger from Sasuke washed over him, and he could see the Uchiha about to reveal the Mangekyo Sharingan. With barely a whisper he appeared between the contestants, turning to Yugito. "Hello, Yugito-san," he said cheerfully. Sasuke seemed to slump at his appearance and sheathed his sword tiredly. Yugito looked at him with a nonplussed expression. "Yes? I need to borrow Sasuke for a minute." "Sorry to interrupt your practice," he said, beckoning for Sasuke to join him. He waved to Yugito and the Raikage and walked on with Sasuke. The Uchiha sullenly stared ahead as they walked, and Naruto immersed himself in Sasuke's emotions. "What bothers you now, Sasuke?" he asked calmly. He could guess, but he preferred to hear it directly from Sasuke. Sasuke's face cycled through a variety of emotions, finally settling on one of open desperation. "I need to get stronger," he whispered desperately. Naruto could actually feel the burning desperation in Sasuke, the unnatural craving for power. Sasuke, it seemed, was unable to let go of that one desire. Something that he had carried over from before. Looking at Sasuke's pained expression, and feeling his torrential desire for more strength, Naruto chose to believe that Sasuke would not abuse his strength. Compassion rose in him like a tidal wave for the young boy who had been irreparably changed by his younger days' happenings. "I am the leader of the Senju clan, though I know much about Sharingan I cannot teach him of it." Naruto flared his senses, reaching as deep as he could into Sasuke's emotions. "Why do you want power?" he asked curiously, looking directly into Sasuke's eyes. The young Uchiha stared right back for a few moments, then looked down with an expression of shame. I just do. I want to match my Ni-san and you. I want to be able to stand alongside you and not feel inferior anymore. When you fought them yesterday, all I could do was stand and gape. I am a true-blooded Uchiha, not some stupid clanless nuke-nin," said Sasuke passionately. Naruto only closed his eyes and opened them again, feeling Sasuke's emotions verify the veracity of his claims. "I can help. Not in the way you think, but I can help," he said, a seed of an idea being born in his head. "Wait until we return to Konoha, Sasuke. We will have to change a few plans again. But if you want to learn how to truly master your eyes, there is only one person who can teach you how." Leaving a stupefied Sasuke behind, he strode onwards thinking how to incorporate this new idea into his existing plans. Traders are such a good breed, are they not, Itachi? Especially skilled traders. said Toby happily, nudging at a figure shackled to the ghetto statue. "You should have told me of this," said Itachi with only a slight hint of anger as he saw what the Akatsuki had done behind his back. He stood in front of the ghetto statue with Pain and the imposter, concealing his utter rage with enormous effort. God only knew how this would affect Naruto. He knew all too well how it felt to have those you loved ripped away from your grasp. "Did you know that the Uzumaki are distantly related to the Senju?" asked Toby curiously as he moved to the prisoner shackled to the ghetto statue. He lightly ran his fingers over her flawless face, causing her to shake slightly in her unconscious state. Itachi just watched stoically, for once unable to decide. "Senju and Uchiha," continued Toby musingly. "Rikodu's blood flowing in two lines, Yang and Yin chakra in their true splendor. When they are unified, the original power that birthed them emerges to an extent. How is this relevant? And I assume this entire situation was engineered for Uzumaki Naruto?" questioned Itachi. He could never have anticipated for Toby to play them all so ruthlessly. Toby let out a short laugh as he turned to Itachi, but his hands went to the captive's hair and pulled it out of its bun. Itachi's hand shook slightly at this. "Yes," Toby said humorlessly, as his gloved hands ripped the few ninjutsu tags that adorned her ears. "That boy is potentially too dangerous to be left intact. Akatsuki is in no shape to neutralize him. So, we do two things at once. Break him mentally, and if that backfires we need to gain the strength to oppose him with no problems. Thus was this plan born, Uchiha Itachi." "Why not use Uzumaki Kushina?" Itachi asked in a disinterested voice. Toby chuckled lightly at this. "Some Uzumaki are of purer blood than others, Itachi. As are some Uchiha," he said, the one Sharingan he revealed glowing malevolently as he faced Itachi. There was a shift in the air, causing them to turn and face the new arrival. Itachi's eyes widened in surprise at what he saw. The real Pain himself had appeared, his Rinnegan shining blue as he leant upon his aide Konan. "You are here, good," said Toby in a businesslike voice. Pain and Konan slowly strode forward, coming towards the prisoner. Itachi's mind raced feverishly as his superior intellect tried to come up with viable solutions to the problem. "Has she woken up yet?" asked Pain in an authoritative voice. Toby replied in the negative, both of them staring at the woman with contemplative eyes. Slowly, her eyes fluttered and shot open. Taking a few moments to absorb her situation, she laid her eyes on Itachi and then went on to observe her other captors. "Welcome to Akatsuki, Uzumaki Mito," said Toby in an overly cheerful voice. Itachi's eyes shone red, ready to unleash Amaterasu upon him. But his mind was still caught in a painfully excruciating dilemma. "I sacrificed my own family to keep Konoha safe, can I sacrifice my Tosama as well? If I blow my cover I save her but condemn Konoha. If I leave her be, and she is killed, Konoha has its greatest informant still." But he shivered slightly. "Naruto will never forgive me." "I see you have noticed what holds your chakra back," said Toby, moving to stand in front of her. Itachi hissed softly as Toby pulled down the front of her robe, consciously suppressing his raging chakra. He dares to touch Senju Hashirama's wife? He thought with cold rage, his Sharingan morphing back and forth from its eternal state. Itachi could only stare indecisively as Toby revealed a shiny silver collar with engraved seals around Mito's neck, and an intricate black seal inscribed upon the slope of her left breast. Mito only gasped in shock as she looked down, seeing the artifact that so constrained her. "How did you get this?" "These seals are Uzumaki clan secrets, drawn only by those of the Uzumaki blood." "Those of pure Uzumaki blood? How is this possible?" she asked calmly, paying no attention to her situation. Toby laughed morbidly, nodding to Pain as a spiraling distortion swallowed him up. Itachi watched with growing indecision as Pain was brought face to face with Mito by Konan. He watched as Pain laid a hand directly on Mito's heart, causing her to flinch. Itachi saw 1,000 emotions in Mito's eyes as she looked straight at him. Before he could catch her in its Tsukuyomi, Pain had already begun. "With you returning to where you belong, Uzumaki Mito, peace will be assured," said Pain in his deep voice. Itachi could feel Pain's immense chakra in the cave as the one who called himself Pain intoned, "Gakido." Itachi's Sharingan now morphed into the Uchiha symbol and he could only barely restrain himself from acting as Uzumaki Mito slumped. Itachi's highly developed Dujutsu could see Pain leeching even Mitosama's entire chakra. He could see Pain's age disappearing as the old face of the real Pain was replaced by that of a youth. He could feel Pain burning with energy and vitality, feel him leeching the last of Mito-sama's chakra. Carelessly taking his palm off Mito's chest, Pain covered her and looked down at his hands with an expression of utmost satisfaction. Almost as if by an afterthought, He glanced down at Mito, who hung unconscious by her shackles, and her robes were restored completely. "Banned Susozo," Pain whispered, looking down at his mangled legs. Before Itachi's surprised eyes, life returned to the legs in a burst of white light. In place of Pain's weak and wounded legs were two healthy legs worthy of a wielder of the Rinnegan. He could see chakra running through them, as strong as it ran through Pain's upper body. "I do not have her chakra anymore, but it was well spent. Even my own chakra's potency does not match hers. Pity I could not retain it," said Pain casually, looking at Itachi. Konan gasped as Pain disappeared with incredible speed and appeared upon his place on the Geto statue. Itachi felt true concern as he took in the scene in front of him. Mito-sama was captured, he had no idea how. And Pain had used her chakra to heal himself. Pain was no longer crippled. Pain's enormous chakra began to saturate the cave completely, and the Akatsuki leader disappeared once more, only to appear beside Itachi with a whisper of a sound. "Itachi," said Pain, looking almost regretfully at the imprisoned Mito. "It is your task to return her to Konoha. We have no further use for her. Make sure to leave her lying in front of the gates of Konoha." Itachi felt rage he had not felt for a long time. Pain had become even stronger, and now was not the time to pit his strength against the leader. But relief rushed through him as he observed Mito's chest rising and falling slightly. She was alive. And it was not yet time to act, only his supreme control of his emotions stopped him from unleashing the full power of his Susanoo, something he did not intend to reveal for a long time. "When the time comes, I myself will seal Tobi and Pain into the endless dream of Totsuka for what they have done today," he promised himself coldly. Akatsuki had taken the first steps to the real war now. He shuddered to think what would have happened if they had killed Mito, and at the same time wondered why they had let her go. "I will," he assented. Pain nodded, and walked back to Konan, who was wearing an expression of utmost happiness at his recovery. Itachi picked Mito gently up, and disappeared. "Oba-san, why do you think Danzo is in the right? He is an abominable man. You agreeing with him openly undermines my rule as Hokage. I am sorry, but you may have caused irreparable damage to my standing," said Tsunade angrily, looking at her grandmother with narrowed eyes. It angered the busty Hokage all the more when Mito remained silent, examining her fingernails studiously. Tsunade cursed loudly, and slammed her fist onto the table. The shards of the breaking table cut into Mito's face, causing her blood to flow. Still the woman said little. Tsunade couldn't contain herself anymore. Vaulting over the table, she kicked hard at Mito, and was beyond surprised when the kick sent the Uzumaki woman barreling into the wall. She stared hard at her grandmother. Never before had this happened. She turned when the doors to her office slammed open and Kakashi entered urgently. "It's alright, Kakashi. My grandmother must have been sleeping," she said regretfully, staring at the hole that contained Mito. Kakashi stared at the hole in the wall as well, and then looked back at the Hokage with a very serious expression. "I am sure she is, for we found Mito-sama unconscious in front of the east gate," said Kakashi with no sign of his trademark laziness. Tsunade's eyes grew wide at this. Her grandmother was right here. True, she was a little worse for wear, but she was right there embedded in the wall. "Impossible," said Tsunade flatly. "I just kicked Oba-san into the wall. True, it has not happened before. If she were a clone of any sorts, I would have sensed her." Kakashi sighed. "Nevertheless, there is someone in our healing division that looks like Mito-sama or is her. We should resolve this affair soon, Hokage-sama." Tsunade's expression firmed, and she appeared before the crumpled form of the woman she had kicked into the wall. "What happened to my father? If you are who you are, then you should know. Tell me," she asked in a deadly quiet voice. Mito got up slowly, and threw herself at Tsunade with a snarl. A blur of moment later Kakashi retracted the elbow he had buried in her abdomen, and watched as Mito morphed into a weird white humanoid. Tsunade's face whitened considerably. "Oba-san," she whispered, and vanished with a sunshine. Kakashi too followed with a heavy heart. He had alerted Jiraiya-sama as well. It was best to get to the bottom of this affair before Naruto returned. He did not want to be at the receiving end of Naruto's anger. Or worse, his disappointment. A quarter hour later, he joined Jiraiya and Tsunade in the Hokage's healing chamber. "How can this be? How is it that we were deceived so completely? I noticed no difference. Did we, the elite ninjas of Konoha, get suckered by appearance and imitation?" said Jiraiya in a low voice of outrage, watching Uzumaki Mito lying supine on the bed. Shizune and Tsunade were feverishly looking through numerous stacks of books, huge books. Kakashi just sat in his chair looking truly despaired. Her chakra was suppressed and even her life force was sucked out of her body, said Shizune with outrage. Jiraiya snarled at this fact. No doubt this was Akatsuki. Shizune beckoned for them to approach further, and pointed to the seal on Mito's chest. That seal suppressed willpower, and this collar, she said, holding up a burnished metal collar, suppressed her chakra to a large extent. I have no doubt she could have overcome both given more time. But what was done to her happened before she could mount a defense, she said with pure anger in her tone. Tsunade was saying nothing, only leafing frantically through various books. Kakashi's anger only increased as he began to see with his Sharingan the damage wrought to Mito's chakra network. In truth, her body was unable to generate any chakra. She's dying, isn't she? Asked Jiraiya in a somber tone. Tsunade snarled out a denial, and gathered medical chakra in her palms and slammed it onto Mito's barely rising chest. Kakashi and Jiraiya watched with sorrow as her repeated attempts failed. Summon Naruto, immediately. I don't care what happens to Konoha, summon him now, shouted Tsunade as she began to mold medic chakra in complex ways to heal Mito. Shizune joined her in increasingly difficult attempts to save the Shodai's wife. Kakashi did not even wait for acknowledgement, simply disappearing to dispatch a message to Naruto. If anyone could heal Mito-sama, it was her husband, the greatest healer Konoha had ever seen. I do not see the need for any alliance, Reikage said, a council member stubbornly, making the Reikage want to pound the man into the ground. But it would not do for Kumo to lose its entire council to one of his tantrums. He leaned forward forcefully, and said loudly. Did you not see what happened to our village, fool? He ground out. It was due to this young man here that we even survived. How could you oppose what we are trying to do here? Akatsuki is a real threat. What if this boy's nation has staged the entire incident? Said another member maliciously. Naruto laughed out loud at this ridiculousness. Stage the entire incident? What are you implying, that we cooperate with Akatsuki? He asked amusedly. The council member snarled, that is exactly what I am implying, you arrogant boy. Before Naruto could make any sort of coherent reply, a blast of golden light occurred in the middle of the room, causing everyone to jump in. Alarm! But Naruto sensed the arrival of 3 new chakras, and all of them were familiar. Shiranui Genma stood with 2 other Konoha ninja, focusing only on Naruto. What is the meaning of this? Shouted the Reikage. But Genma only walked solemnly to Naruto and handed him a scroll. With a horrible feeling in his gut, Naruto opened the scroll. The entire posse watched with bated breath at this abrupt turn of events. Naruto scanned the scroll once with a stone-cold face, and stared at Sasuke, who stood behind him. We are going to Konoha, he said in a final voice. The obnoxious council Jounin sneered, and Naruto turned towards him and met his eyes with his own. Moments later the fool lay writhing on the ground when hit by a killer intent so purely malicious that it would probably stop a lesser ninja's heart. Ignoring the man, Naruto said, I apologize. We need to go to Konoha. Genma-san, can you manage to transport 2 of us with my father's technique? Genma nodded gravely, and Naruto and a bewildered Sasuke stepped into the enclosed space between the 3 shinobi. Naruto inclined his head to the Reikage, and signaled to Genma. With a flash of golden yellow light, they disappeared from Kumagakure. Naruto winced slightly as the disorientation from the Hiraishin hit him for just a moment. They were in Konoha's Hokage office, and it was relatively full. You may go, Genma. And thank you for your service, said Tsunade gravely. Genma bowed and he and his 2 comrades disappeared. Naruto turned and said to Sasuke. This is a personal matter, and it does not concern you at the moment. Please leave. Sasuke looked mutinous for a moment, but nevertheless he left. Naruto took a deep breath and turned to those remaining in the room. He could feel the depth of the sorrow in Jiraiya, Shizune, Kakashi and most of all Tsunade. Where is my wife? He asked them in an urgent voice. Tsunade looked steadily at the window, refusing to look at him. After a few tense moments Kakashi said. In the room of observation. She has not yet regained consciousness, he said hesitantly. Naruto walked briskly towards the door, blowing it apart with a minor earth technique. Angry thoughts raced through his mind at the speed of light. How could this happen so fast? Where were we deceived, and how could they capture my wife? A Jounin moved to stop him at the hospital, but a branch sprouted out of the ground and whipped him far away. Tsunade cried for him to calm down. But he did not listen. The only thought running through his mind was that he had not made much of his second chance to be with his wife, he had not respected what was given to him. Again and again he chose duty and village over blood and family, and again he paid a dear price. And now my wife is dying, he thought to himself miserably. He could sense very faint traces of Mito's chakra in the room beyond him and just barged in. The sight of Mito lying there pale and helpless, with what little life force she had fading fast, brought tears to his eyes and raging guilt to his heart. He rushed towards her, taking her in his arms and extending his senses to such an extent that he was almost one with the nature around him. He quested for Mito's chakra, and he found nothing. "Do not interfere," barked Jiraiya to the alarmed medic Nin as he and Tsunade watched Naruto trying to heal his wife. Naruto made a complex seal sequence, melding chakra in impossible ways. "Iryo ninjutsu, Kami no Fukatsu," he intoned, straight away using one of his most powerful techniques of healing. Green chakra fountained around him in a nimbus of bright light as he sought to heal Mito. The light grew brighter as his desperation increased, causing those present to cover their eyes. He gathered every shred of chakra in his body, and forced healing on his wife, but it was to no avail. He slammed his palms together and called forth 8 wooden pillars, his wife resting on a smooth wood platform in the middle. This time, the green glow could have well been seen everywhere in Konoha, for the entire building was filled with it. After a few minutes, the extremely bright light subsided, leaving Naruto in front of his motionless wife. Tsunade looked on in extreme sorrow as she saw the man in front of her yell out in anger, the short burst of chakra causing cracks to appear in the walls. For hours they saw Naruto use healing techniques beyond their imagination, the pain in their hearts increasing every time he failed to achieve his goal. Finally, Naruto knelt tiredly on the ground and his wood pillars dissipated. The platform did not though, and Uzumaki Mito's beautiful form lay undisturbed and serene upon it. "I am useless," said Naruto with self-loathing. "Whoever did this to her broke the very center of her chakra network. My healing relies on the chakra of the recipient as support, she has no chakra to give." "None," he whispered, a single tear sliding down his eyes. Kakashi closed his eyes, and Jiraiya hung his head. Tsunade stood motionless at this unbelievable turn of events. Her family was falling like a pack of cards before she even knew it. "Pain," came the whisper. Naruto stood up with surprise and delight at the welcome sound of the voice, but his face fell horribly at what met his sight. The light was leaving Mito's eyes, which were now open, and they were fixed upon Naruto's watery forest green ones. "Pain is whole, and imposter. Predapath, traitor." Here her barely aware eyes seemed to sharpen and alighted upon Naruto, who was openly shedding tears of anguish. "Be careful, husband," she gasped out with difficulty. Naruto just held her hand, tears flowing continuously down his face. He thought this life had given him a chance, but that chance was taken away before he could even properly consider it. His wife was in the throes of death. The only woman he had loved in both lives was being taken away from him, and he could do nothing to stop it. Of what use was all the healing he could do when he could not even save the love of all his lives? Tsunade came to the other side and held Mito's left hand, also crying at the cruel farewell they had to bid. Mito's slender body arched, and she slumped spread-eagled on the wooden platform. As the life left his wife, Naruto felt as if his soul was being torn as well. "I love you, Hashirama," she whispered with her rasping breath. Naruto bowed his head, letting the grief and utter guilt swallow him whole. Tsunade was taking him away from his wife, and he did not stop her. When he had not stayed by her in life, what right did he have to stay by her in death? As anger, guilt and sorrow rushed through him in terrible proportions, he felt his mind folding in on itself. Though it was unbecoming for a shinobi of his stature, he let the blackness take him, happy to be away from the pain of it all. When he came to, he was lying in a private ward in the hospital. He was alone, that was good. As he stared up at the ceiling, his eyes watered and he controlled himself with an enormous effort. The pain of losing his wife so abruptly had not truly hit him yet. The pain of losing a second chance with her killed him inside. He tried to think. If he were just Hashirama, he would have been sad and moved on for the sake of the village. The village, he snorted. He was no longer just Hashirama to dedicate his entire life to Konoha. He was a reborn Hashirama and a new Naruto who wanted to live for himself and his loved ones. The loss hit him all over again, and he screamed. His chakra went loose again and the hospital started shaking violently from the force of its release. The door banged open, and Tsunade came in frantically. "Calm down, Oji-san," said Tsunade, hugging him tightly. Naruto immediately stopped flaring his chakra at this contact, and disengaged himself. His emotional control was slipping rapidly, and barriers he did not know existed were being destroyed. Who was he? He gripped his head hard to avoid the crisis that brought to his soul. Who was Mito to him? Wife from past life, or a beautiful woman he was slowly growing to adore in this one? He shook his head. The barriers went back up once more, and his mind cleared. But he felt something in him change irrevocably as he turned to Jiraiya. All the joy in his voice was gone, it was dead. It was remarkable how a person could change so much in a matter of hours. "Who killed her?" he whispered. Jiraiya winced, and began to draw seals of privacy all over the room. Tsunade only waited gravely as Jiraiya activated the seals with a single gesture and turned to Naruto with a hopeful face. "She is not dead," blurted Tsunade. Naruto turned to her with rage-filled eyes, causing her to step back slightly. In a deceptively calm voice, he asked, "I felt her life fading to nothingness, you stupid little girl. Do you claim to know more healing than me?" A small flash of anger ran across Tsunade's face, but was replaced by understanding immediately. She took Naruto's hand in hers, and said softly, "The healing techniques you used were so powerful, Oji-san. They kept her alive when she should be dead. Reach out with your senses, can you feel her faint life pulse? She is in the next room, after all." Naruto desperately closed his eyes, reaching deep into the sensory perception. Mito, there she was. Like the flutter of a butterfly's wings, he could feel life in a faint chakra pulse in her. Relief ran through him so powerfully that he thought he would faint again. He got up and rushed out into his wife's ward, Tsunade and Jiraiya hot on his heels. It almost brought tears to his eyes again, the sight of his broken and unconscious Mito. He turned to Jiraiya and Tsunade, and gestured firmly to the door. "Leave me with her. I need to see if I can fan the sparks of her small chakra into the raging fire it should be." He knew he was being abrupt with his friends, but this was the woman he loved. Finding the pure chakra of nature all around him, he reached out to Senjutsu. 2 hours later, Naruto came out of the room causing Tsunade and Jiraiya to stand up frantically. Tsunade looked at him with a desperately anxious look, a look that literally begged him to answer. "She will not wake," said Naruto in a rough and tired voice. When Tsunade looked about to break down, he held up his hand. "I said she will not wake, not that she was dead. She is in a coma, her chakra network was destroyed too completely, as was her chakra source. I merely connected her to the flow of nature chakra. Nature will feed and sustain her for now." Tsunade slowly opened the door to Mito's room and entered, gasping loudly. The bed was gone and trees filled the large ward everywhere. But in the center were 8 pillars that connected floor to ceiling, and in the middle lay Mito serenely. They could feel nature chakra in the room, running through the pillars and into Mito. "You made her a sage?" asked Jiraiya in a flabbergasted voice. Naruto shook his head in morbid amusement, which quickly gave way to solemnity. "No, that is impossible for anyone. In their unconscious state, ninjas with great and potent chakras have the ability to tap imperfectly into nature chakra. Sages can use this property to keep such people from dying, even with the gravest of injuries. It is something I discovered a long time ago." He trailed off. "Amazing," whispered Jiraiya. Tsunade nodded, once more sampling the rejuvenating purity of the chakra that sustained Mito. Naruto quietly ushered them out of the room, and shut the door behind them. He slammed his palms together and trees thrust out of the ground to bar the entrance. He laid a palm on the trees, and seals appeared on them, engraved into them permanently. "If only I knew the Hiraishin," he thought wistfully. "Drop your blood onto them," he asked the duo. Tsunade and Jiraiya did so, and the seals disappeared. Naruto turned to them in satisfaction, and said, "Now only the 3 of us can enter this room, Tsunade. On to more important matters," he said with an authoritative voice, causing them to pay attention. "I can actually heal Mito completely," he said. Jiraiya and Tsunade's confusion was ignored as he continued. "But I am still not as strong as I was at the height of my power. I once had the ability to reconstruct a person from the ground up, even his chakra network itself. I need to train now, like never before. Only when I am satisfied with my own strength will I attempt to heal Mito completely. Her safety is more important than my desires." "Heal even chakra networks, grow it back?" whispered Tsunade with round eyes. Her grandfather's might was often dismissed as a fairy tale, but this was too much. No one had even considered such a feat. The precision required would be stunning. "Yes, I can do it. Now I need to know a few things, a few important things." Here his visage darkened. He turned to Jiraiya. "I know you two have contact with Itachi. Did he communicate with you?" "Yes." "Then tell me, what the hell was Itachi doing when my wife was being killed? Did he just watch?" Naruto asked, feeling rage slowly bubble up. "Why yes," said Jiraiya, causing Tsunade to close her eyes. His cover Naruto opened his eyes, and for a moment it was the slitted red eyes of Kyuubi that sat there. "Damn his cover. I don't care about his cover. He should have rescued my wife, he shouted with anger, causing the hospital to shake again violently. Jiraiya looked alarmed and hurt at this baffling new personality of Naruto's. I will never forgive them. Was Pain the one who drained out Mito's chakra and broke her source? He asked in a voice of deadly control. Jiraiya nodded again, for once cursing Itachi's desire to do the right thing, and knowing in his heart of hearts that the Uchiha had once more proved to be the greatest Anbu operative they ever had. Naruto remained silent, gathering his thoughts and composure. I assume you can reopen channels of communications with Itachi? He asked Jiraiya, seemingly regaining calmness. Tsunade nodded. Tell him not to interfere when I come for Pain. But Konoha is not ready, she began. Naruto cut her off with a single wave of his hand. Not Konoha main, he said firmly. Pain took my wife away from me with the sage's eyes. I believe he too has a female aide, doesn't he, Jiraiya? Asked Naruto coldly. Jiraiya nodded, seeing where Naruto was going. He often did not like such actions, but they were shinobi. They had to send certain messages to their enemies, and vengeance really had nothing to do with it. Konan, a former student of mine. My spies have confirmed that she aids Nagato, he said sadly. Naruto turned to Tsunade. You said you have my armor? He asked. Tsunade nodded, wide-eyed at this. Naruto continued, oblivious to their reactions. Then I will have it back, for I might need it someday. I may have to attack Iwa sometime in the future, take the fight directly to Pain. I need to train hard anyway, what better way to supplement that training with the occasional battle with the leader of the Akatsuki, he chuckled humorlessly. Jiraiya looked at him as if he were insane. You plan to track Pain himself? Do you have any idea of how hostile he was at the moment? And you say you plan to fight him eventually? Yes. But only if I can confirm Pain's presence there. Or else I will have to search the countries looking for him, said Naruto. Plans formed in his mind rapidly, and he somehow knew that this idea of his was the only alternative. The Council of Three will never agree, said Tsunade, speaking after a pause. Naruto smiled a chilling smile, somehow it did not look right on his face. No matter, I'm beyond their power, he said. I will get my wife back to health again, no matter how long it takes. We have the time for Mito, that much I have ensured for now. He announced with total determination. He was going to get his Mito back whether he was Hashirama or Naruto. She was a precious person irrespective of any identity crisis he had. The three sat in silence for a time, pondering the effect this new development would have on the future. Tsunade, I need to ask you for a huge favor, he said. Tsunade looked at him inquiringly. Naruto continued, feeling a modicum of calmness return. I will need your official permission to leave Konoha for an indefinite time. Until I can find Pain. Mito said Pain was whole. I can assume therefore that Pain has become even stronger. It will be best if I can face him in a duel, he mused. Tsunade asked harshly as well, what if you do find him, what then? I have a plan. I will not go seeking him for now, I will only track him. When the time is right, I will face him, said Naruto. Here he smiled a wintry smile, and whispered. And then, I will extract from him the price of attacking my wife. He will know the consequences, soon enough. Him and the Akatsuki, they will understand. He looked at Tsunade, and got up to leave. Send my armor to my apartment. I may not use it, but it is an anchor to my past, he said, but stopped when Jiraiya announced firmly. I am coming with you as well. Kakashi will train Sasuke in Mangekyo Sharingan. But Minato would kill me 100 times over if I let his son walk into this kind of foolhardiness alone. Shikamaru stood in front of the Hokage as she read the proposal with scrutinizing eyes. The Chunin was nothing if not intelligent. He was being touted as a potential tactical prodigy of the likes of the Nidaime Raikage, the greatest tactician to ever live. He was being mentored by his illustrious father Nara Shikaku in the technical aspects of battle tactics and had risen high in that command structure. There was no help for it, though, not with the delicate balance that held the nations together. The so-called Rookie Nine had specialized in their own strengths, making their graduating batch renowned as the strongest and most talented batch of genin since Uchiha Itachi had himself graduated. Some had even made jounin, thought Shikamaru idly as he observed the Hokage perusing his report. Neji had maintained his reputation as the most talented Hyuga to ever grace their clan as he made jounin in just 2 years after Jinan. Hiyashi often claimed in the council that the purity of Neji's Byakugan was alike to the first of their clan. His thoughts were pushed aside as Tsunade looked up at him with a considering expression. It is an interesting proposal, Shikamaru. Rather bold, I dare say. You know that Orochimaru has holed up in Oto with all those missing nin surrounding him, He has not been seen for the last 3 years. It will be an exceptionally tough mission if approved, said Tsunade sternly, peering up at the Chunin. That is true, Hokage-sama. But we need someone to infiltrate Otogakure to acquire information on its defenses. My father has received intel that Orochimaru has acquired a battalion of Iwa Nin to bolster the outer wall structure. Akatsuki are building their strongholds quite slowly, but they are doing so surely, he said. Tsunade nodded slowly. True. Orochimaru is secretive and sneaky, and I am afraid he is planning nothing good. Who would you suggest to go on this mission to Oto? Any ninja specializing in stealth would do, Hokage-sama, said Shikamaru, but his fact tightened as he emphasized, an ideal team would be composed of Anbu. This is a very high-level mission. But we might need an S-class ninja to participate, I am afraid. Orochimaru is too sneaky not to anticipate such an attempt. S-class ninja are in short supply, Shikamaru said Tsunade acidly. Kakashi might be one, but his sole responsibility for the moment is training Sasuke. People would laugh if I started doing missions myself. There is really no one else capable of handling Orochimaru and Konoha except a very select few. What about Jiraiya-sama? Asked Shikamaru curiously. We have not had word from him or Naruto recently, they seem to have disappeared from the face of the earth, said Tsunade with frustration. Even Kushina knows nothing, she has her hands full with that Mizukage. I want to go and give that stupid Kage a piece of my mind for keeping a foot out of the door for so long. We must make do with the Raikage Kumo, Hokage-sama, said Shikamaru. Despite Kushina-sama trying her hardest to bring Mizu, despite the friendship the Mizukage professed with her, Shikamaru shook his head. The Village of Mist was turning out to be the one wild card in the entire affair. They were choosing neutrality in this time. I think so, said Tsunade. Akatsuki will be making their move soon. We must be ready to send teams to Kumo at a moment's notice. The Ichibi should be protected at all costs, as should the Niibai. I have received intel, most likely the attack will not be large-scale. An ambush is expected. I can help predict attack possibilities, Hokage-sama. It should help to make our deployment more focused, said Shikamaru. Tsunade nodded. Do so. I expect the report in 3 days' time, she ordered, and Shikamaru disappeared immediately with the sunshine. He ran through the main streets of Konoha towards the library, jumping up and above several rooftops as he did so. His mind ran several scenarios to solve the problem posed to him, considering and rejecting several possibilities simultaneously. Shikamaru, shouted Yamanaka Ino, bounding forward from his left. Shikamaru turned and waved at his bubbly teammate. Ino stopped in front of him and bonked him on the head. Well, there you are. I thought we were going to have barbecue with Choji, you know, watch him scarf down the entire restaurant. But we have been waiting for too long and I simply cannot bear Choji's tantrums. I'm sure, said Shikamaru weakly. It was too troublesome. Ino interrupted him with a spitfire look. He paused right there, eliminating his sad excuse immediately. With a sigh, he followed his former teammate towards the one place he seemed to frequent more than his own home. His trained shinobi senses picked up something odd as he traveled through the village. There was absolutely no wind, yet the trees in Konoha were rustling indiscriminately. Ino looked at him quizzically, also noticing the same thing. It was odd. What was that? Asked Shikamaru as the faint rustling sound seemed to pervade Konoha increasingly. Ino pointed to the streets, noticing several faint blurs race through the village towards the west gate. Shikamaru's eyes widened. Anbu. And all the elite Jounin, he whispered in alarm as he saw Mitarashi Anko, Genma and Raito dash through the village. To his left he could catch Aoba and his team running full pelt towards the gate. The rustling of the trees increased tremendously, every tree in Konoha seemed to sway in its spot, and Shikamaru's eyes widened as he could see new leaves sprout upon the branch he stood upon. No way, said Ino, staring at the continuously blooming flowers to above her. The two shinobi of Konoha seemed to stand still as they felt a sense of happiness and belonging wash over them, and the trees began to shed their blossoms a season too early. He heard 3 sunshines to his right and observed Aburame Shino, Hyuga and Rock Lee coming up to him with urgent expressions. Shikamaru, Shikaku-san requests your presence at Westgate. All the Jounin are assembling there, along with Anbu. I assume it is a force of invaders. Shikamaru shook his head. He knew exactly who was coming, and it sure as hell was not invaders. Nodding to them, he rushed towards the west gate with a sense of euphoria and hope as Konoha began to be blanketed with flowering blossoms of every type. The west gate was teeming with ranks upon ranks of Jounin and Anbu, and he could see his father standing impassively at the Hokage's right. To the Hokage's left stood Hatake Kakashi and his current apprentice Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke had grown tremendously as well, his skill was being touted in all quarters. Kakashi's apprentice was known to have attained mastery of the Sharingan, and his Shunshin was possibly the most acclaimed technique in his arsenal. Already Sasuke had completed several borderline S-rank missions without too much effort, and his enterprise and skill had gained him several accolades. Shikamaru rapidly made his way to the Hokage, and was quite surprised as he saw the Rookie 9 gathered with the Anbu. As Ino and the others went to join them, he made directly towards the Hokage. "Hokage-sama, Tosan, what is the situation?" he asked crisply. Tsunade said nothing, only pointing to an empty spot in front of them 100 yards. All the Jounins and Sasuke's eyes were fixed on the same spot. But he saw nothing. What? Before he could reply, a great puff of white smoke appeared at the exact spot Tsunade had pinpointed, but no one seemed to be alarmed in the slightest. Shikamaru recognized the phenomenon, and found himself frowning. "Hello, Tsunade!" came a shout within the cloud of smoke, and Shikamaru frowned even more. This was just too troublesome. He could hear coughing sounds within the smoke, and a voice that seemed to be trying to speak but was cut off by the sheer amount of white smoke that was wafting everywhere. "Jiraiya, your theatrics are old just like you buffoon," said Tsunade in an angry voice as a tall figure with copious white hair became visible. More alarming was the fact that he seemed to be doing a ridiculous dance, hopping around singing praise of himself. "Privileged to meet me, the gallant Jiraiya," he shouted as he lifted up his hands in a pose not really awe-inspiring. Another figure stood to his right, just as tall as him. As the smoke cleared, Shikamaru could see a youth, built every bit as powerfully as Jiraiya himself was. "Could you please give me warning before you throw that smoke pellet?" demanded the youth in a frustrated voice. "That smoke tends to choke me too much," he coughed, and Shikamaru felt the utter silence from the Jounin of the village. "Forget it, Gaki," said Jiraiya. "You will never understand the meaning of epic entrances. You have no clue how to awe your audience to submission." The youth gave a disbelieving scoff and with a final cough lifted up his head to face them all. Tsunade stepped up and whispered, "Naruto, is that really you?" The Rookie 9 were also frozen in surprise. The young man next to Jiraiya was the spitting image of Namikaze Minato, but with differences. He was of sturdier build than the deceased fourth, and was much taller. Sleek golden hair fell down to his shoulders, held in place by the headband of Konoha. His face held much of his father, a trace of his mother, and something he could not put his finger on. Naruto's forest green eyes seemed to be blazing like green embers, and Shikamaru could only barely see past the deception. He could see Naruto had grown tremendously, and he dared not guess how much. "Oh, hello," coughed the young man sheepishly, as Jiraiya banged him on his back. "Hey, Sasuke. I see you have become stronger, and look at all of you," he exclaimed, pointing furiously at each of the Rookie 9. "No longer kids, huh?" They simply stared at him. "Well, Dobi," smirked Sasuke. Kakashi smiled as only he could, and Sasuke continued, "I see you have finally grasped the concept of people becoming older. Never thought you of all people would understand." Shikamaru said nothing as Jiraiya laughed heartily at the joke, and a few Jounin too laughed. Even Tsunade smiled, and turned to the assembled Anbu and Jounin with her orders. The alarm was false. "Tell sensory unit that it was not an assault. You may all leave now." With curious and elated looks, all the masked Jounin dispersed with blurs, leaving only Jiraiya, Naruto, Kakashi, Shikamaru and Sasuke with the Hokage. Naruto strode forward to meet the Hokage with a serious expression. "I am ready to heal her." "Heal who?" thought Shikamaru, but Tsunade nodded. "I am glad, we were getting worried. The hospital has been left alone, and we have sealed it to all shinobi. She is ready for your healing." "Do they know?" asked Naruto, gesturing at Sasuke and Shikamaru. Tsunade shook her head. "But Shikamaru must be told as soon as possible. He is our top strategist, and Sasuke, I think you will tell yourself." "Tell what?" asked Sasuke curiously. Naruto nodded to Jiraiya and turned to Shikamaru. "Hey Shikamaru, I know you know several secrets being the chief strategist, but mine is more important than you could possibly imagine." "Tell him after the procedure, Naruto," said Jiraiya, and Naruto nodded. Shikamaru followed them with a puzzled expression as they moved toward the old hospital, and he could see the puzzled expression mirrored upon Sasuke's as well. But the others knew, for they held not puzzlement but hope and satisfaction. What could Naruto be hiding? With a few lazy shunshines, Naruto stood in front of the hospital that was declared off-limits to all shinobi but the Hokage. 3 years. It had been 3 years since his awakening. 3 years since his wife was laid low by the treacherous attack of pain and the imposter. He could feel the emotions of the entire village pressing on him gently, knew that his arrival had created a furor that would have to be dealt with later. "Why are we here, Naruto?" asked Shikamaru. Naruto turned to the Chunin, immersing himself in his sensory abilities. He could feel absolutely no deception in Shikamaru except for a well-concealed readiness. 3 years had turned them all into youths, not quite men but close enough. He of course was a different matter. Glancing at Tsunade, he said, "I believe them to be worthy of my secrets, Tsunade. I will tell them. Sasuke here deserves to know, and Shikamaru is according to you a potential planner of Konoha's strategy." Tsunade nodded in assent, and Kakashi smiled as he saw Sasuke look quizzically at Naruto. Shikamaru remained silent and followed as Naruto led the way into the very leafy interiors of the hospital. A strange chakra pervaded the entire building, seemingly rejuvenating its occupants like a dose of soldier's pills. Naruto strode purposefully through the corridors to the place where his wife awaited healing, focusing his chakra as he did so. Mito had suffered far too much, and he would not let her do so any longer. Within moments, he had reached the room he had sealed with wood release, and felt the wonder of Sasuke and Shikamaru. The place was awash with the power of his Senjutsu and he could not help but feel a sense of pride at a job well done. True, 3 years ago his control of his chakra was abominable at best as he used to release chakra whenever he got stressed in any way. But now he was better. Much better, and closer to the supreme skill he had once possessed as Hashirama Senju. "What is this place?" whispered Sasuke. To his Sharingan the tree-covered doors were absolutely blazing with the silver chakra that made him want to laugh with ecstasy. Such was its efficacy and power that even the one labeled the Emo Uchiha cracked a wide smile. "My own chakra," said Naruto absently, as the trees parted for him. The door was pushed open and the shinobi filed in after Naruto to see another stunning vision. Tsunade and Jiraiya watched closely as Naruto briskly made towards Mito, and laid a palm upon her forehead. The earth shuddered as the 8 pillars of wood was returned to it, and the trees in the room began to return to its source. Tsunade leaned to whisper into Jiraiya's ear. "Can he do it?" Jiraiya scoffed. "Tsunade, he is who he is. If the last 3 years of traipsing around with him have taught me anything, it is to not doubt him. Just watch. Mito-sama will be healed even though it is theoretically impossible." Naruto heard that and smirked at Jiraiya. The man knew more about him than anyone except perhaps Mito. His meetings with his mother were few and far in between, and those were fraught with such tension that he was often shunted to consider Kurama's doubts about his mother. "What is happening here?" questioned Shikamaru discerningly, looking around the place with his trademark bored look. Kakashi stood with Jiraiya and Tsunade, and they only watched silently as Naruto joined his palms in the tiger seal. "That woman is close to dying," observed Sasuke quietly, but no one even turned to him. His Sharingan was at the Mangekyo stage, and he could quite clearly see pathways. What had happened to her was truly atrocious. Sasuke whispered to Kakashi, "Her source of chakra has been broken, I have no idea how. Trying to heal her is folly." Shikamaru's eyes widened at this, but Naruto opened his eyes to stare at them with a determination that silenced their objections immediately. This time, there was no visible manifestation of chakra around Naruto, but Sasuke could see just how much chakra was contained in his body. It was a wonder he did not explode, taking out the entirety of Konoha with him. "She is my wife. Mito is my wife," said Naruto quietly, and saw Shikamaru making the connections fast. Sasuke just stared at him with puzzlement, but Naruto could see the faintest inklings of comprehension steal over him. He had waited 3 years for this moment, learning and training in ways that had almost put him to the ground. Mito began to breathe heavily in her prone form, and Naruto turned down to face her. He had created this technique after 2 years of painstaking research, a culmination of healing techniques all over the countries. Tsunade watched anxiously as Naruto's hands flashed through seals in this sequence even Sasuke could not follow. "Sasuke, I need your help," said Naruto as he blurred through the seal sequence. Sasuke started at that. Naruto was never one to ask for help. With a glance at Kakashi he strode forward, standing at Naruto's side in an instant. With a final seal, he separated his hands and laid one on Mito's chest and one on her brow. "Can you do shape manipulation of lightning and fire?" he asked intently. Sasuke nodded, and held out his hands. The room was lit up as fire and lightning crackled into existence in his palms and Naruto nodded approvingly. He turned to Tsunade. "I need Sasuke because I will fuse all elemental natures to fuel my jutsu. That is how the human body is composed, as you well know," he said, and proceeded to continue. Kakashi interrupted, however. What about yin and yang? Naruto smiled mysteriously, and held out his hands widely to the side. Sasuke could see earth chakra and water chakra take shape in both palms, and Naruto intoned softly to the earth, Makuten, Hote no Jutsu. 4 huge hands of wood burst from the ground, towering all around them. Their palms held glowing chakras of green, white, silver and black. A gasp of pure surprise came from Shikamaru, who knew exactly what it took to split chakra in so many ways. His suspicions were all but confirmed as he saw the spectacle of Naruto consciously molding the 8 different pure chakras into one single sphere that hovered above Mito. You all had better close your eyes, Naruto advised them calmly as the sphere's brightness grew to painful levels. It seemed to be fed by the chakras in the hands of Sasuke, Naruto and the arms of wood. Shikamaru could only stand with growing certainty as the Hokage and the 2S ranked nin simply watched solemnly. Tentayama Iara, he heard Naruto's voice, and the light of the sphere consumed everything as it fused with Mito's slowly diminishing body. Shikamaru closed his eyes tightly, wrapping himself with the shadows his clan used so well. I could never have expected that Naruto was him of all people, he thought as he staved off the painful light with the shadow manipulation of the Nara clan. He saw Jiraiya's hair elongate and expand to shield himself and Tsunade from the jutsu, and he thought he saw a skeleton of some sort encase Sasuke. Kakashi he could see nowhere in the room. What a twist of fate. Of all the people in Konoha, Naruto is him. Of all the people. Itachi, came the sibilant whisper from Orochimaru, as he manipulated some unknown compound in his laboratory. The snake Sannin turned to face the Uchiha who had seemingly appeared out of nothing in his laboratory, lowering his hood disdainfully. Orochimaru replied Itachi quietly. Have you finished recreating it? Pain is expecting it to be in his hands very soon. He did not risk using the creation of all things just to indulge your imaginations of the Six-Path Sage's power. The dank basement seemed to grow moodier as Orochimaru chuckled his dark laugh. Carefully replacing the vial of a bright red liquid in its holder, he wiped his hands and turned to Itachi. Pain demands much. That metal is not very easy to make malleable, Itachi. It will take time, he said condescendingly. Itachi stared at him disquietingly for a time, and then nodded slightly. So be it. Pain has a message for you. If you think you can betray us again, you will be destroyed without hesitation, said Itachi as he wavered out of existence balefully. Orochimaru just laughed at the Uchiha's words. He knew all too well how testy Pain could be. A dark corner in the lab stirred, and out came his promising subordinate Kabuto. Orochimaru-sama, what do you think Akatsuki will do with the item? He asked curiously. The Rinnegan has the ability to manipulate all the elements without such a crutch. It seems like inordinate effort to get something they already have. Orochimaru's face grew pensive. Despite all his intelligence and acumen, he had wondered the self-same thing. Why on earth would Pain ask for such a thing? There were things going on he did not know about, and not knowing something was a great irritant to the snake Sannin. I do not know, Kabuto, he admitted distastefully. But I will find out. Naruto had just finished activating the powerful seal of privacy in the Hokage Tower, and made to sit down leisurely in a rather comfortable chair. Relief was written all over his face. The healing of Mito had gone better than he had expected. They had all gathered in the Hokage Tower, with Shikamaru staring at Naruto with a wide and amazed face. A wide smile suddenly split Naruto's face, and he suddenly started dancing around with anime tears streaming down his face. They stared at him, Shikamaru looking so surprised that he might as well faint. She is healed, she is healed. Naruto kept chanting continuously as he performed a rather disturbing jig. Jiraiya face-palmed, and Sasuke stared right into Naruto's eyes. Shut up. At this Naruto's face fell, though the cheer remained in his eyes. Sorry about that, he said, scratching his head diffidently. It is just, I am so happy. They heard a brief croaking kind of sound, and turned to Shikamaru who was making a series of said sounds with an indignant hand pointing at Naruto. You. He sputtered, his face so white that Naruto was sure he would go to radish-level whiteness. What? Asked Sasuke irritably, somewhat alarmed by the unflappable Shikamaru's extreme reactions. He looked at Naruto with a discerning expression. True, the healing was extremely impressive. Jiraiya and Kakashi looked at Shikamaru with a smug amusement, enjoying the young Chunin's reaction. Oh, you have deduced my identity, haven't you? Asked Naruto happily. Sasuke stared at him with a deadpan look. Dobi, Shikamaru is not that dumb. No, you don't understand, choked out Shikamaru. He is not Naruto. He is Senju Hashirama, said the Nara in a faint voice. Sasuke stared at him as if he had gone crazy, not noticing the knowing looks of the others. You have finally gone insane, haven't you? Not that you Nara people were any saner in the first place. And you call Uchiha unstable. You've lost it, said Sasuke, shaking his head miserably. Then he looked up at Kakashi. Sensei, did you hear that load of CR he possessed? You don't actually believe him, do you? He asked in an incredulous pointed at Naruto furiously. You don't believe that the Dobe here is actually Hashirama himself? Do you? He cannot be him. That would mean he is stronger than even my ancestor Madara. That is impossible for someone like him. Hey, said Naruto indignantly. I defeated Madara every single time we fought, you know. I used to be better than him. Not to mention you defeated me along with him, came Kurama's rather put-out voice. That wood release of yours is really annoying. I have much more chakra than you, but you got me all too easily. This is insanity, said Sasuke. You are all insane, he said in a blank voice and tried to make out of the room. Tsunade stood up. Immediately. Stand down, Sasuke. This is an SS class secret, and we will not let you walk out freely with it whether or not you believe in it. Listen carefully, said Tsunade, and laid forth the evidence that supported Naruto's claims, all of it. An hour later both Shikamaru and Sasuke stared at Naruto with amazement. Naruto grinned at them weakly. Pleased to meet you, Sasuke. For your information, you are nothing close to Madara, he said reassuringly. Sasuke's eyes narrowed dangerously. Naruto waved his hands around frantically. No, not like that. You are not of Madara's darkness. You are much better than him, he shouted, causing the Uchiha to calm down. Shikamaru said weakly, Senju Hashirama. That's me, said Naruto, raising his hand cheerfully. Kakashi stepped forth. This is getting us nowhere, he said calmly. All these reactions are funny to watch, Naruto. I even look forward to seeing other people's reactions to the truth of your past life, he said, causing Naruto to smirk. But we do need to know a few things. We can't tell you everything at once, said Jiraiya immediately. We will only cover the important points for now. It would take a long time to tell you all everything. Right? He asked an agreeable Naruto, who was still basking in relief and happiness. Yeah, but be brief, replied Naruto, and returned to his relieved lounging. Jiraiya turned to them, and began. We spent the first year traveling around to hone our skills, infiltrated Iwa in the late portion of that year. Early next year we were detected by Pain, and I had to literally drag Naruto out of the village for fighting Pain in the middle of his own base was foolishness. We were in hiding near Otto for the next few months, during which I met Orochimaru and nearly killed him. I too had suffered serious wounds and took another month to recuperate. Finally, for the last year we wandered the nations of Mizu and Kumo, occasionally meeting Kushina. It was during this time that training yielded the most result, finished Jiraiya, to a room that was blinking after the overly simplified account. I see, said Tsunade, blinking once in surprise. Naruto palmed his forehead. Not that brief, you perverted hermit, he exclaimed. Jiraiya smirked at him, causing him to turn to Tsunade with an exasperated look. That was pretty much what happened, he said. Tsunade shook her head, glancing at Jiraiya with an angered look. You idiot, that is why we could not draw out Orochimaru from his hidey hole. Now it turns out that it was you doing a half-baked job that cost us so many Anbu. Naruto was on immediate alert. They had lost Anbu to Otogaku? Jiraiya's face showed utter surprise at the fact. What happened? Asked Naruto seriously. Tsunade sighed, and Naruto felt a deep melancholy take hold of the room. His senses could feel a particular sadness from Sasuke, a kind that felt very familiar. A kind that felt. Whom did you lose? Asked Naruto in a soft voice to Sasuke. Kakashi shot him a warning look, but he needed to know. Sasuke looked down to the ground, and the fact that he was so controlled in his emotional display brought home to Naruto how much he had grown. My sensei, Uzuki Yugao. She taught me how to use the sword like a true shinobi, said Sasuke, his fist clenching briefly. Shikamaru was also highly poignant, and Naruto noticed it. What happened? He asked again. The Anbu station near Orochimaru's base were getting blasts of extremely strong chakra, said Tsunade. They were ordered to investigate the base as soon as possible, and it was termed an S-rank mission. We have lost contact from them, a year ago now. We assume Orochimaru killed them all, she finished with a sad tone. But we almost died in that fight, both of us, said Jiraiya harshly. Even that creep would take some time to recover from that fight, so it could not have been him. It was most likely someone else. Not Akatsuki, or else either I or Naruto would have felt their presence. Not necessarily, said Naruto. I have searched for pain for a long time now, and he has managed to evade me every time I think I have him. For the last year I have been aware of Orochimaru's unnatural behavior, not that it was ever natural, he said with a hint of disgust. I wanted for us to attack Ado, snarled Sasuke, as his eyes burned red. But he pointed to Tsunade with fury. She would not let me go. Told me I would be considered a nuke-nin if I disobeyed her orders. She was right to do so, Sasuke said Shikamaru quietly. Before they could bicker too much, Naruto intervened. Kakashi, he said loudly. How strong do you think Sasuke is? Everybody quieted down, looking curiously at the Jounin. Kakashi looked at Sasuke and then back at Naruto. After a few moments he said in a low voice, he can awaken Susanoo. Naruto's eyes widened, memories coming to him from his other life. Memories of a battle when he and Madara had fought as just boys, the moment when Madara had showed him just what it meant to possess the Mangekyo Sharingan. He had little doubt that if one took the trouble to trace back the lineage of Sasuke and Itachi, they would be lead inevitably to Madara. Why? Asked Sasuke hollowly. My strength is of no use if I cannot use it to help my precious people, he said, shooting a dirty look at Tsunade, who stared back firmly. Naruto held up his hand, drawing attention. Do you think he can hold off Orochimaru if it comes down to that? He questioned Kakashi intently. The one-eyed Jounin frowned, considering his reply. Sasuke remained silent. He can, said Kakashi shortly. Not for long, but he can do it. Naruto nodded briefly. I will not send him, said Tsunade firmly, causing Naruto to turn to her. I will not send that boy and allow him to get captured by Orochimaru or possibly killed. No need, said Naruto and smiled grimly. Jiraiya's eyes widened, he knew that tone. Before he could say anything, Naruto had said his piece. I know you want to flush out Orochimaru. He will not be flushed out unless there is a reason. I can be that reason, said Naruto in a serious voice. Sasuke needs to rescue his Kenjutsu sensei. You need information on Orochimaru, and I really do not like Akatsuki. If I create a distraction you can slip, and even Sasuke. I occupy those Otogakure for enough time to let the nin complete their missions. Everyone wins, except Ado, said Naruto triumphantly. The room was too silent. But it was broken eventually by Shikamaru. Your plan would be good, but for the fact that the moment you use Makuten it would alert the Akatsuki nations into premature actions. We are not yet prepared for a war. He is right, said Kakashi. Naruto shook his head slightly. I will not use Makuten, then. I could defeat Izuna without it, and I damn well killed Kakuzu without it. I can definitely handle Orochimaru's ragtag army without it, he said firmly. Are you quite sure? Asked Tsunade in a great voice. Naruto nodded, but Jiraiya shouted desperately. You cannot be serious. You have not seen those diversions of his. He will raise Otogakure to the ground again. Trust me, I would know. Why else do you think Orochimaru is reinforcing it with earth walls? You perverted hermit, shouted Naruto in return. Orochimaru had stabbed you with Kusanagi and I had to do something. Killing that snake would take too much time and you were dying fast. It was the best I could come up with at the time. Fine, grumbled Jiraiya. Everyone was looking at them with amazement, Tsunade with exasperation. Really? That was the reason why we are in this mess? Your solutions are sometimes too drastic, Oji-san, she exclaimed. Naruto held up his hands in surrender. I said I would help, didn't I? So what do you say about my plan? Asked Naruto curiously. Everyone looked at Tsunade, who asked Shikamaru. I find no real debilitating consequences. Can you? She asked. What if Akatsuki come? Asked the Nara. Naruto's eyes became filled with a terrible anger. Let them come. They have escaped me for quite some time now, they have been steering clear of me quite prudently. If they come, I will tear them to pieces, he promised viciously. Sasuke looked alarmed at this side of Naruto's. The truth about the Uzumaki had not yet sunk in. But now he could see traces of something far older and more powerful than he could possibly imagine in the Dobi's face, and could begin to accept the impossible truth. That Naruto was Senju Hashirama reborn into the world. I am sure you will, Shodai-sama, Shikamaru managed to say. Naruto waved his hand at the Nara, calming down immediately. Do not call me that, Shikamaru. I am him, but not entirely. It would be an abomination for the dead to reclaim themselves in this manner. I am Hashirama, but Naruto describes my personality better. Shikamaru nodded diffidently. The time is coming, said Jiraiya suddenly. Intel has reached me that Akatsuki is beginning to make a move on Ichibi and Niibai. This means Kumagakure is under danger. All for the better, said Naruto calmly. Tsunade turned to him incredulously. How can you say that? She demanded. Simple. I attack Auto, we cripple their presence in that area. They will not strike back until really necessary, not until they are threatened directly. Pain does not care about such peripheral support as long as he is fixated upon the Baijuo. This is our best chance to take out Otogakure with a minimum of interference, he said, with eyes shining in their excitement. So, as long as Akatsuki concentrates on the Jinchuriki, they will not concentrate too much on Auto, said Tsunade musingly. It will not escalate into a war we are not truly prepared for. At best it will be a minor battle, she said, mirroring the cunning look in Naruto's eyes. I don't care, said Sasuke. I only wish to rescue my sensei and rescue her, we will, said Naruto pleasantly. And along with that, we will deal Orochimaru a nice surprise. I still haven't forgiven him for almost killing the pervert here, nor for resurrecting my family in such an abominable manner. Will you be taking a team with you? Asked Shikamaru curiously. No, said Naruto firmly. I will cause widespread panic in Auto with my attack, and they will all pile up on me in their hurry. Sasuke will blend into the confusion and search the base to complete the mission. I would appreciate Kakashi here with me, though. You have business here, don't you, Urosenin? I do, said Jiraiya. I have important things to do. If you try to peep on Shizune or me once more, threatened Tsunade with cracking knuckles. Jiraiya denied it vehemently. I would be honored, Naruto, said Kakashi loudly. Naruto nodded. Excellent, he said, and looked at Sasuke, who shot him a look that said, do you even have to ask? We'll leave tomorrow then, shall we? Asked Naruto to Tsunade. The Hokage nodded with anticipation. Bring him down, Oji-san. Let us end Orochimaru once and for all. They are nothing in front of my eyes, said Sasuke arrogantly. Naruto laughed out nostalgically, causing Sasuke to turn to him with a perplexed look. After a few moments of short guffaws, he said, in many ways you are like my old friend Madara. He said the exact same thing when the two of us fought the Yatsuki clan's original army. But that was when we were friends, he reminisced sadly. Shodairakege's personal army, just after Konoha was built? Asked Shikamaru with wide eyes. On Naruto's nod, he said, that army was 7,000 shinobi strong. Naruto scratched his head, remembering him and Madara standing by each other's side as they literally slaughtered the entire army. He had only sought to incapacitate them, but Madara had not hesitated. No, I think it was more like 9,000, confessed Naruto. Sasuke let out a shocked exclamation. 9,000? He choked out in a stunned whisper. Kakashi shook his head resignedly. Madara was almost about to kill the man who would become Shodairikage. The man had surrendered, he was too afraid of our strength. Said we were not of this world, reminisced Naruto. I had everyone in my half restrained and incapacitated, and Madara had killed everybody in his half of the army. I mean everyone. I was sickened by his actions, and stopped him from dealing the final blow. From then he always took to calling me a soft-hearted fool, who did not know to kill his enemies. You stopped your half of an army of 9,000 shinobi, without killing them? Asked Shikamaru in a faint voice. If that is true, then I do not think we will have too many problems with Auto. I am inclined to agree, said Kakashi with his understated humor. Naruto looked at Tsunade seriously. I wish to be back before Mito awakens, for which I give a week. It will take time for her body to recuperate completely. We must begin our preparations. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.